Okay, greetings everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Want to make sure to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. If you're on Hecklebus, get over to El Perro and do the same. And if you're on El Perro, get over to Hecklebus. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button to help the algorithms. And there are PayPal links down in the details section for anybody that wants to share some love. It's always appreciated. Every little bit counts. And we're going to talk again tonight on the Hitler's Willing Executioner. I'm going to do a little bit of reading. But I want to get started with a couple things. I was involved with some chats earlier, and a point came up that is something I've iterated before, and I'm going to keep saying it. It's another one of the things I'm going to keep impressing upon people is that when you come out of high school, please do not stop your education there. Continue on and learn the broader sense of what life is all about, because what they taught you in school is just to remember certain things that they want you to remember. It's an enforcement into the indoctrination to get you to do things voluntarily that you wouldn't otherwise naturally do. And it comes down to a point where in this conversation, a fellow said that there comes a time in everybody's life where they just don't care. They just don't care. And I think that's when most people turn about 18 years old and graduate from high school, they think the cares in the world are already over because now they've got the education to go forth in this world and conquer it. And that's a false premise. So going out in that world, into the world like that is something I did when I was 18. I gave no fucks. And I've come to realize that most of my life was generated on that concept, at least 33 years of it as a young adult. And then I had to wake up. And so, and that leads to the second part. As we talk about this monetary system and the paperwork versus the materialistic realm, going through some articles, trying to consolidate things here around the home. And we ran across this. See if I can get that up there. South Dakota Penitentiary. And in the middle there, it's got a propeller from an airplane. Now, I don't know if I can read the rest of it, but there's something else written on it. But on the back, there is absolutely nothing. Literally, it's a one-sided coin that you get in penitentiaries to go to the commissary. When people put money on your books, they have to convert it to a material form so you can use it. Because in that penitentiary, your signature is no good. They already got the signature they need. And until you learn how to write yourself out of the contract, your signature will be no good. You'll have to use the material coin of the realm because you don't know how to coin your words. So basically, what we're looking at is in relation to Hitler's willing executioners. We're already looking at a system that's trying to indoctrinate you into that that world that you can't coin your words, and it's done through the language. It's getting so far subverted from the original word that you think you know the original word in and amongst all those words that are actually contracts. Those words that you're looking at, many of them are contracted together. They're called contractions, just like D-O-N apostrophe T. That's a contracted word, and it makes a term. Same thing with knowledge, behave, insane, things like that. So you have to get down to the roots of the words to find the origins so you can coin your words. That way you can get rid of all the excess. Add not unto nor take away from the word, lest ye be found a liar. And this is an important term or thing to realize. If you're going to go forth in life, you need to care about your own word, because a man is bound by his word. And if you think at any point in time that you have no care in the world and that you have enough knowledge that you've remembered through the public education system, that that's going to help you in those contracts, you've been deceived. You have most certainly been deceived. So let's take a look at this. As we do a little more reading here from Hitler's Willing Executioners. And as I said before, the copyright notice is in the first video that I did last night, and that stands for all parts hereinafter. This is part 1, I believe I titled it. Part 2, part 2, because the last night was introductory part 1. So now we're going to get into a little bit of reading here, continued from last night. And I'm not going to read the, like I said, I'm not going to read the whole book, but for the first starting videos, I want to do some comprehensive reading in the first pages here of reconceiving central aspects of the Holocaust. Because the way that the historical record purports it has certain material facts, but there are other supplemental facts to it. Like I mentioned yesterday, the Nazis and their party and political regimes of Germany used these tactics, but they got them from a different source. So when we look at that other source, we find out where those tactics came from, and we find out they came from another source. And they just keep sourcing back to a prior time of certain events with certain dates and characters. Today, it's the same play, just a different place, different time, with different characters. But we're all still playing the same part. We're willing to execute another being on the command of another man. And again, the scriptures tell us to trust no man. We're supposed to put our trust in the Lord. We're not supposed to shake another man's hand. See, if we're bound by our words, and then we can join those words in Babel and shake another, then we're contracting in Babel. So if we truly speak the word and coin our words, we don't need a signature. We don't need the paperwork. So let's continue on from last night. And it says, during the Holocaust, Germans extinguished the lives of 6 million Jews, and had Germany not been defeated, would have annihilated millions more. Now, the difference here is that there have been other annihilations throughout time. And again, same similar tactics, varying different degrees, different characters. But it's just a repetition of the same thing, of another man taking authority over another man's life. And that doesn't extend just from Hitler. Because anybody that takes the offer of another man, that he's giving them the authority to take the life of another man, he's taking that authority as if though he has all authority to do so himself. And that's just blasphemy against yourself. The Holocaust was also the defining feature of German politics and political culture during the Nazi period, the most shocking event of the 20th century and most difficult event to understand in all of German history. It's not so difficult to understand if you go back through the different histories and see how it's just a repetition. And that's the problem. People don't want to do that. They don't want to do their due diligence to look back before that. They want to think of it as the most profound event in the 20th century, and then that isolates it from all other events throughout history. And we can't do that. We've got to learn how to correlate the events throughout time as having the similar things that effectuate them and cause them, and realize that it's all us. Because of our need for this knowledge and statistics to keep track of it, we're part of the experiment, and we'd volunteer to do so because we're the ones listening to the news purporting all those stats and then questioning whether there's 89 dead in Hawaii or 112 or what the count is. Do you live in Hawaii? Then why are you worrying about fake statistics? Get to the real facts, and that is learning how to express the truth yourself. Quit listening to the lies. Realize the real lies with your real eyes. You have to start learning how to observe for yourself and just quit taking everything that everybody else is giving you and feeding you in these media as true. Quit believing it. That has no foundation. The Germans' persecution of the Jews, culminating in the Holocaust, is thus the central feature of Germany during the Nazi period. Again, they're qualifying a period rather than the events, and sticking to a subject of events that we all commit throughout the annals of time, from the very beginning of time. It is so not because we are retrospectively shocked by the most shocking event in the century, but because of what it meant to Germans at the time and why so many of them contributed to it. See, in today's modern age, you're doing the same thing. You're contributing to your own indoctrination. You're contributing to your own slavery. You're contributing to your next generation's slavery by sending them to the public education system, thinking that that's going to teach them anything. It doesn't do anything but to help them learn how to remember things. And the things that they're having you remember are statistics. Nothing more. They have nothing to do with the actual real events in your life. They don't teach you about civics. They don't teach you about banking. They don't teach you about the legal profession and the legal language. They teach you the English language, which is a literal piece of work of adoptions of multiple other languages, and teach you to remember it so that when you get old, you think you understand it. You can't possibly understand English unless you go to the roots and start learning how to understand the previous languages that it was constructed from. The same with every other history book. That's why it's important to give those copyright notices and the source copyright material. It marked their departure from the community of civilized peoples. This departure needs to be explained. See, at the current time, you're departing from civilized people because you refuse to act like a civilized people. You keep going out into the streets and protesting and lighting other people's things on fire and blowing things up and breaking their shit and stealing their stuff. Is that civilized? If you want your things back, do you go get it from somebody else? Do you go start stealing like they want you to so they can lock you up? See, you've been distracted. You've been indoctrinated, and you really need to come out of it. Explaining the Holocaust in the central intellectual problem for understanding is the central intellectual problem for understanding Germany during the Nazi period. All other problems combined are comparatively simple. How the Nazis came to power, how they suppressed the left, how they revived the economy, how the state was structured and functioned, how they made and waged war, are all more or less ordinary, normal events of any polity. That's what a polity does. They go through those things to make sure that it's going to be beneficial for them. No polity goes to war without knowing that in advance that it's most likely going to be beneficial to them. But the Holocaust and the change in sensibilities that it involved defies explanation. So let me talk about Henry Ford during the World War II that supplied, yes, military equipment to Germany. How about the Americans that helped fund the war in Europe by using German banks? Do you think it was laundering money? I don't know. I can't say. But I know from the historical material facts that people aren't looking into, they get deceived and think that there's a Holocaust. Let me ask you, and I don't want to be serious and I don't want to be funny. I want you to take it for what it is. I want to ask a serious question. What is the Holocaust? About a gram? You know, hologram. See, what's been presented to you is only a portion of what's there. It's just like a hologram. It's not materialistic. It's a vision. Nothing more. And what's it going to cost you? Are you going to believe in the vision? Is it your vision? Is it a statistical vision driven by numbers? Or is it a materialist vision driven by spirit in prosperity and abundance? You know, one that can observe that when something needs to be put on the table, they can put it on the table and then clean the mess up when they're done and still be prosperous in the world, even though they consume. That means you have to put out more than what you take in. How do you do that? Do you do it by placating to a fictional system that's taking everything it can from you and then cry about it? Or do you learn how to stand up in your natural state and start learning how to observe the real world instead of everything put before you to remember in these books? See, I really don't want to read this book. I've already read it. I want you to read it. I want you to read other material. I want you to learn where all of this shit comes from so you can learn how it plays such a big role in your life. This is what you've been indoctrinated by. And I urge you to learn how to go back and relearn how to read. Because they didn't teach you how to read. They taught you how to spell. There is no comparable event in the 20th century. Indeed, the modern European history, whatever the remaining debates, every other major event of 19th and 20th century Germany history and political developments is, in comparison to the Holocaust, transparently clear in its genesis. Explaining how the Holocaust happened is a daunting task, empirically and even more so theoretically. So much so, some have argued, in my view erroneously, that it is inexplicable. And I'm telling you, it is explicable. You can explain to yourself why you're doing what you're doing. And that's what you need to start doing, I think. You need to learn how to explain to yourself, why is it I'm sending my children to somebody else with totally different political views, totally different medical views, totally different spiritual views, totally different manual views, totally different educational views, totally different economical views, totally different popularity views. Why are we doing this? Do we want our children to learn those things? Or do we want to teach our children how to be spiritual beings and observe those things for what they truly are? The theoretical difficulty is shown by its utterly new nature, by the inability of social theory, or what has passed for common sense, preceding it to provide a hint, not only that it would happen, but also that it was even possible. See, this is where, again, I reiterate, this stuff happens repeatedly throughout history. And so it is explainable. And you can learn how to explain yourself out of it because you don't want to keep repeating history that keeps proving the downfall of societies. Not one society has stood throughout the entire history of mankind. Why? Because not one of them wants to stand on the truth. And I don't know if that'll ever happen. But I do know through my own experience, I stand with my truth and I don't let anybody dissuade me from it. Retrospective theory has not done much better, shedding but modest light in the darkness. And this is why I say you have to go back through the history of annals of history and research and see how those events repeat themselves. They're just, again, done at different times for different reasons and staged in different places by different characters. The overall objective of this book is to explain why the Holocaust occurred, to explain how it could occur. The success of this enterprise depends upon a number of subsidiary tasks, which consist fundamentally of reconceiving three subjects: the perpetrators of the Holocaust, German anti-Semitism, and the nature of German society during the Nazi period. Now, the nature of the German society is according to the inherent principles of the people and the hearts, the things they hold in their hearts. And at that time, I can only imagine it was very weak because they were willing to listen to one man. All of them. One man. German anti-Semitism was the basics of this. And I'm sure that many of them had nothing against the Jews until the perpetrators of the Holocaust, the ones that wanted control, put the story out that the Jews were the downfall of society. Again, I urge you to realize it's your own actions that are the downfall of society. And you need to quit blaming it on Jews, blacks, whites, Mexicans, Italians, whoever you're blaming it on. You need to quit blaming. Period. I want to take a real quick moment to thank everybody for joining me. Norm Longstaff, Cara, Channel 3, Angry Rooster, Austin Murphy, Jen, always good to see you. We've got, let's see here, Producer Moose is here, Citizen Science Oral Health Project. Good to see you, Ethan. And there's The Great Delusion. Be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And if you're on Hecklebus, get over to El Perro, do the same. If you're on El Perro, get over to Hecklebus, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Get this information out. Get this message out. This is what I'm bringing to the table. And if you have anything that you disagree with it, the panel link is down there so you can join the panel, come up and discuss it. I'm always open-minded, and I'm willing to take in further research and concepts and theories. It's open for discussion. It's commentary and opinions. And that's all we need to come to a greater truth, is more voices speaking up what's in their mind and what's in their heart. Because today, there's something terribly wrong with the hearts and minds of men, as I can see it. Most men have a terrible problem, both in their heart and their mind. So I'll be back again tomorrow night with some more reading. Like I said, I'm going to do a little bit of reading out of this first section, but then I've got some highlights that I'm going to bring forth throughout the rest of it. So I think tonight, and then I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be here tomorrow night. I've got something else going on tomorrow night. So the next one will be Monday night, 8 p.m. Sorry I was late tonight, but again, we'll be hitting it Monday night with some more reading, and probably Tuesday night some more reading directly from this first part, and then I'll go into the highlights on Wednesday and Thursday and on. So I appreciate everybody's support. Again, there's a PayPal button down there for anybody who wants to share some love. And just remember, I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back or not. I hope God blesses you and you have a great night, and we'll see you again Monday night. Love y'all.